My name is Mr. Hunter. I teach biology at the American School of Milan. This year we've gotten some whiteboards, and we're just learning how to use them and demonstrate some of those things to you today. It certainly has the ability to just be able to use as a whiteboard. So I can come in and I can write, just as I do on a normal board, anything that I want to. The other thing it allows you to do is to actually have it so that as you write, it will take what you write and snap it into text, obviously already, so that now they don't have to worry about reading my handwriting or anything else. But the really nice thing about the whiteboard is that it can actually be your desktop. It's actually another monitor. So I can switch back to my normal desktop on my computer, where I've got a website running right now, and I can go take a look at, for instance, cell function overview. It'll go load that site. This is just like my desktop itself. I have access to all of my normal Microsoft things like Word or Excel or any of those type of things. I can run animations, for instance, from something like this, which is a picture of what's going on in a particular cell. The really cool thing about the whiteboard is that I can actually grab pictures of this and carry it over to my other things. So, for instance, if I wanted to go through and take a screenshot of this and say that I only wanted to see this particular piece, I can highlight that piece, and it'll actually bring it back to my desktop where I can now draw pictures. I can now go back to my pen tool and I can draw and put little things that say this is the ribosome. I can switch colors and come across and say this is the nuclear pore. I can add whatever type of things that I want to on my workspace, doing whatever I want to do, and yet at the same time back on the other screen, if I switch back, is still the original animation with all the things that are there. I can continue to go through this, letting this go through its particular steps. I want to move this picture. I can actually switch back over, grab the picture, move it down wherever I want to on my desktop. I can highlight some things, like for instance what I just wrote, and I can say I'd like to change that to text, and it will actually go back and change the bit of information to text. And so I have the ability to be able to do almost and manipulate almost any type of stuff that I want to on the screen. The other thing, when I'm all done at the end of the day, is that I can actually go in and I can save this in a particular area, and I can say I'd like to save it. And in fact, it'll allow me to say if I actually divide by different periods during the day. So my lecture for today, I can save it under that particular period name. That allows myself tomorrow or next week to go back to whatever I was talking about today. It also allows any student who wasn't in class that day, or a student who doesn't remember all the information that was presented that day, to be able to go back and look at all the lecture notes that happened to be going along that particular time. I can also go in and create an image page that has something not to do with that at all. For instance, they have a 3D graphics page here, which I'm going to apply to the current page. And in fact, then I get a three-dimensional grid axis laid on my screen. As a math teacher, I can now go in and I can draw lines on this. I can say I have a vector that rises up. It has a y dimension, it has a z dimension, and it also has whichever other dimension that I'm talking about. So it allows me to be able to do things on the screen like that. I can put up a backdrop to whatever my presentation is. Load Word, bring back up a document, whatever particular one that I'm looking at. I'll bring up a test that I was just running in one of my biology classes. I have the ability to be able to go down on this test to any of the illustrations or questions that were there. Let me go down to the graph. If I want to take and I want to grab a particular thing, like let's say I wanted to grab that graph, I can go into my camera tool, I can highlight the thing that I want to grab and look at, and it'll snap it back into my worksheet that I'm using. I have not changed my original Word document. I can still go back to my original Word document. It's exactly the same. But while I'm here, I can now draw and I can illustrate on the side of this. I can write words and I can say, you know, this is the habitat range. We can talk about the sizes. I can talk to the kids about, you know, you can see that this is between 2,200 and 3,000 for a particular question and so on. I can do whatever I want to do, and when I'm done, by flipping back over to my mouse tool, I'm back in my original document, and I can still scroll up and down, and everything else is exactly the same. These are the questions they saw I can switch over and immediately start writing on this. If I switch back to my pen tool, it takes a picture of the screen that I'm on, and I can answer the question that's up here, compare the distribution of these two, identify the altitude, and the altitude is 2,500 meters and so on. But I haven't changed my original document. It's all still there, and everything's still the same way it was. And if I go back to the original document, there it is, and nothing's changed. So I have the capability of flipping out and looking at different applications without having to actually switch over cables or anything else as I'm working. I can get into Google Earth, Internet Explorer, just any of the bigger things that I might want to see.